I was standing at the counter at Dunkin Donuts the other morning when something incredible happened right in front of me. I head to Dunkin's every morning after my 15,000 steps of badass road work outside in nature every day. And then I drink some more water, and here in Naples, I hop in the truck and head to up the street to Dunkin's and grab an extra large coffee every single morning. The girls, they're absolutely fantastic. They know my order, they know my name. I always smile, hold the door, speak to people, get out of my truck, never ever use the drive-through, and just try to be a giver of good energy, positive energy to people, employees. I really enjoy the eye-to-eye, belly-to-belly contact with people first thing in the morning. I used to use the drive-through, and I don't do that anymore. I get out and I speak to people. I get out and talk to people. I get out and listen to people. It's important for a number of reasons. So on this particular morning, I'm standing there, and the girl is preparing my coffee, and behind me is the door, and in walks one of the most impressive men I have seen in 19 years of pro coaching, 19 years of, good morning, being involved in amateur elite sports, working with some of the most competitive, most mentally tough, most physically strong and gifted athletes on the planet in the sport of hockey. I know what a great athlete looks like. I know what a cleaner looks like. I know what a beast of a performer and competitor looks like. So this guy is about 40 years old, and he walks through the door. He's about 6'4", 6'5", 240 pounds, I'm going to say. In all my years of coaching pro and amateur hockey, I can size up an athlete's physique in seconds, because that used to be my job as a recruiter. And this guy was dressed in shorts and a t-shirt, ball cap, clean cut though, very clean cut, 6'4", 240, big smile on his face. Reminded me of when you run into an NFL player. He reminded me, with the big smile on his face and how clean cut he was, he literally reminded me of Tim Tebow. When I saw Tim Tebow at a speaking conference in person, I was so impressed by the man that he was, the smile on his face, his attitude, his mindset, his mental toughness, and how physically fit he was. So this guy walks through the door, big, huge, massive smile on his face. And as soon as he opens the door at Dunkin's, this little blonde-haired boy, he looks like he's about 7 years old. He's a few years younger than my daughter, Emery. This little boy runs, sprints across the donut shop and into this guy's arms. And it's like a cub coming to a grizzly bear. And he immediately, both the child smiling, he's smiling, he immediately scoops up the young boy and hoists him into the air over his head, holding him up almost like a push-up, and swings him back down and squeezes him and hugs him and wrestles with him a little bit, exactly like a grizzly bear, a father grizzly bear wrestling and playing with his cub. It was a beautiful thing to see. a father connected and engaged with his young son. So the two of them walk over to the table, and there's this little table in the corner at Dunkin's, and this beautiful lady stands up, this beautiful girl stands up, and she's the mother of the little boy. So this guy walks over and he gives her a massive bear hug, you know, the kind of hug that you can't fake, that you almost never see. Like, he just gives her a massive, massive hug. And he's so big and powerful and strong. Again, the big, big smile. He's loving every second of this. And she literally disappears into his arms. That's how massive, massive this guy is. And, you know, like, she's grinning, she's smiling, he's smiling, the child. And then he continues after the hug to, you know, wrestle a little bit with the boy. And, you know, I'll never forget, he puts his hand to ruffle the kid's hair, and how large his hand was. And I noticed that he was wearing shorts and a t-shirt, and his t-shirt said Collier County Fire Department. Collier County Fire Department. That's the county we live in here in Naples. And fire department. So he's connected some way with this county's firefighters. And then I'm standing there, and the girl I pay for my coffee, and I slide down the line. I'm waiting for them to fulfill my order. So I'm standing almost next to the table where they're sitting now. And they're smiling and talking, and then the guy says a sentence that literally I'll remember the rest of my life. It's haunted me for the last 3 or 4 days. I woke up thinking about it 2 nights ago. I've written about it. I've prayed about it. I've journaled about it. But it literally is something that stopped me dead in my tracks. They're all sitting at the table now, and he grabs the little boy, and he looks straight into his eyes, and I'm standing there, and he says, your dad was the finest man I ever had the honor of serving under. Your dad was the finest man I ever had the honor of serving under. I grabbed my coffee, and I was just walking by the table when the mom then said, Daddy's gone far, far, far away, but we'll always remember him. And then the big guy said, he put his massive hand on the child's chest, and he said, your dad lives here, right? Forever. Your dad lives here, right? Forever. And this is in the middle of the Dunkin Donuts. Nobody's noticing. They're all buried in their phones. And I grab my coffee, and I walk out to the truck, and I literally get in the truck and put my coffee down, and I just sit in silence and solitude. I can't drive. I can't do anything. I just can't believe what I just experienced. And it was almost like there was this heavy weight that came over my body as I sat there and thought about the circumstances, what had happened to this young family, what had exactly happened to the father, what exactly had happened to the young boy's father. Was he a firefighter who died in service? Was he a military hero who had died in service? Was he a police officer who had died in service? And I'll never know, and it doesn't matter. It truly doesn't matter. His father died a hero. After about 6 or 7 minutes, I started the vehicle and I drove home. And I was still literally in shock. I was thinking about how precious and how fragile life can be. I was thinking about all the stuff that I share and I teach. Life is a gift. The secret to living is giving, having a mindset, an attitude of gratitude. And all of those things are cliches until you hear somebody say something like this. Your dad was the finest man I ever had the honor of working under. So this young boy and his mom are now faced with going it alone. He's so young, I'm guessing 7 years old. He's not any older than that. I'm guessing that he lost his father recently by the sounds of this. I'm guessing that this guy who was there at Dunkin Donuts is a casual friend. But this little boy will now grow up without his father, without his dad. Life is hard. Life is difficult. But life is hard and difficult even more so without your dad. So this mom is going to have to step up like never before. She's going to have to raise this young man without the support of a male partner, without the king, without the champion, without the badass lion at home. And that, my friend, is a massive, massive challenge. Who's going to be there to show him how to be a badass king, a champion, an elite man, an elite husband, elite father when his time comes? And I'm sure that there'll be people in his life that have an impact, coaches, mentors. I pray that this man that swept him up and put him up in the air, the Tim Tebow of Dunkin Donuts, will have a big part in his life as well. Who knows? It just really was, when I thought about it, I came back and jumped in the pool and I told Krista the story and I told Emery the story about how this little boy's dad had made the ultimate sacrifice in serving other people. Didn't matter whether something happened fighting a fire or something happened, overseas in the military, or maybe he was a Naples or Fort Myers police officer. I don't know. I'll never know. Doesn't matter at all. What matters is this boy's father had a job where he was serving his fellow Americans. He was serving. He was living a life of service. He had been called to serve, and he had answered that calling, and it had cost him his life. A life with a wife, a young son, beautiful family, an entire life in front of him. And I'm sure he understood the sacrifices, understand the risks, but you never really can internalize them until something happens. But that's the kind of stuff that we forget and we need massive wake-up calls for, especially in 2023. I sat in my truck, and I'm not afraid to admit that I was emotionally shaken. Just hearing those words, seeing that boy laughing, seeing that lion come in there, seeing that beautiful mother, seeing those incredible people, it was like nothing I haven't seen. I haven't seen something like that powerful in years. Not at any seminar, not in any book, not on any podcast. Just the raw revealing of what sacrifice looks like. That song 20 years ago, all gave some gave all. There it was right in front of me with my morning coffee. Your dad was the finest man I ever had the honor of serving under. And he looked that boy in the eye with massive pride. And man, at that age, it'll be difficult for that child to remember his father. He'll remember bits and pieces, but he'll remember photos, but that's a long time to live without your dad. That's a long time to live without your hero. So a wake-up call for yours relentless. Seeing that in the raw, uncut flesh was, man, it was a gift. As hard as it was, it's a gift, a gift that I have to share. I have to write about it. I have to talk about it because it's bothered me so much. It's, when I think about it, I get emotional because I'm such a pro-military guy. I'm such a pro-police guy. I'm such a pro-firefighter, emergency response guy. And I get so much criticism and hate thrown my way for speaking up for our Canadian and American military. I get so much criticism and hate for speaking up for our firefighters, our police officers, our first responders. And then when you see something like that, you understand that I got my values in the right place. I know who the true heroes are in this world. I always say that, everybody here, they try to make heroes out of movie stars and Hollywood and all this other nonsense, tomato cans into heroes. But the truth of the matter is those celebrities and those pro athletes, those are not the real heroes in our world. Never have been, never will be. The true heroes in our society are the men and women in uniform. And as I always say, the small business entrepreneur. To me, those are the two sets of heroes that I admire and look up to, that I know if those people don't show up every day, if the entrepreneur and small business man or woman like you doesn't show up every day, we don't have any hospitals, we don't have any schools, we don't have any roads, we don't have any bridges, we don't have America, we don't have Canada. If heroes like this young boy's father, our military, our police, our firefighters, our first responders, if they don't show up every day, we don't live under this blanket of freedom, independence, security, and safety that we do. I always brag about how we live in I have the pleasure of living in the greatest two countries in the world, Canada and the United States. In the summer, we live in Canada. In the spring, summer, and fall, we live in Canada on the lake. And in the winter after Christmas, we live in paradise, heaven on earth here in Naples, Florida. An incredible state, an incredible city, an incredible neighborhood. And all of that's made possible by the people that I just talked about. By the small business entrepreneurs, the millions of men and women that go to work every day to try and build something worthwhile, hire people, build things, pay taxes, sponsor T-ball teams, dreamers, builders, doers, contenders. And then, of course, the people that keep us safe, our men and women, past, present, and future, in the military, our firefighters, our police officers. It's so easy right now for our fake media, for our toxic media and our vomit politicians to, good morning, to tear these individuals down, right? It's easy to try and climb the ladder as a politician. Politics is theater for ugly people. Politics is theater for ugly people. Media, bought and paid for media, mainstream bought and paid for media, it's vomit. It's not the news, it's vomit. It's indoctrination of a larger plan to bring you down, to attack winning. So it's easy for these tomato cans to try and build themselves up by tearing other people down. And easy targets are our military, our police, our first responders, and entrepreneurs. Everybody is a rich, evil entrepreneur, right? Well, I work with thousands of small business owners, and I know very few that are rich. Most are top 5%, not top 1%. Most are working in a high-paying job at best. And if you calculated their hourly wage, they're probably making less than minimum wage. But they have the dreamer's disease. They believe in the America or the Canadian dream. They believe in independence. They believe in personal sovereignty and autonomy. And they have the mental balls to go get it. When 99% of the people live as slaves and die as cowards. This gentleman surrendered his life. By looking at the age of his wife, he probably surrendered his life in his late 30s, early 40s. But you know what? He didn't live as a bootlicker, didn't live as a coward, didn't live as a society slave. Lived as a champion, lived as a hero in his own home, lived as a builder, was a giver, not a taker, and dedicated his life to serving other people. That's what we're here for. That's what we're here for. I say to I teach this to my mastermind members as much as I can. And do they listen? Some of the time. A lot of the time, no. Who have you been called to serve? Who have you been called to serve? Who are you helping today? You don't just spend money. It can be opening up a door. It can be a smile. It can be helping somebody. It can be sending a thank you card. It can be picking up the phone and speaking with somebody that needs to hear from you today. It can be helping your aging parents. It can be being there for a friend. It can be mentally present, leaving your cell phone at home and taking someone you respect to lunch. It can be any of these things. It can be getting out of your vehicle and walking in and smiling and using a person's first name when you get your coffee or your breakfast. Doesn't take a lot, doesn't cost money to make a difference. And then on a grander scale, through your business, who are you serving? What's your business about? If it's about selling insurance policies, if it's about selling flooring, if it's about selling t-shirts, if it's about selling golf clubs, if it's about selling therapy, if it's about selling maps, you have an ordinary business. You have a forgettable business. There'll be no legacy, there'll be no impact, and there'll be no significance. 2 years after you sell the business or close the doors or whatever you do, it's forgotten. What's memorable in our personal lives and in our business lives, no service, no success. No service, no success. So if you're not serving people through your business, whether it's children, whether it's teenagers, whether it's people in need, then your business is just the doer of the thing. Well, I wash cars, or I detail cars, or I own a golf club, or I'm a consultant, and it's forgettable, and there's no legacy, and there's no significance. Nobody will talk about it. Your grandkids won't know about it. Your great grandkids won't even know your name. Forgettable life. 99% of men they worry, they grind, and they live a forgettable life. They live a forgettable life. They're only remembered by their wife and children. That's it. Maybe a handful of friends, and those friends are gone too soon too. So we live in the greatest country in the world, the greatest two countries in the world. And I was reminded of that when he said that to that little fella. Your dad was the finest man I ever had the honor of serving under. That's Canada and the United States right there. That's the freedom that isn't free. Sure, we live in the greatest two countries in the world. Sure, we are awash in wealth, trillions of dollars, abundance, and opportunity, online and offline like never before. I tell my 10-year-old daughter every damn day, you live in the greatest time in history. And so do I. But I want her to know that it's not okay not to do well. It's not okay to not do well. When you have men and women sacrificing past, present, and future for the safety to create the greatest environment to raise a family in like you've had, unlimited wealth, trillions of dollars, rivers of money for you to go stand in. You can be a 7-figure earner, a 8-figure earner, whatever you want. We have abundance and opportunity. You can start up a side hustle. You can start up a website. You can advertise to 7-8 billion people with the click of a button. Couldn't do that 15 years ago. The greatest time in history to be alive is now. Oh, well, Michael, there's lots of things going on. There's always been lots of things going on. Do your fucking history work. World War I, World War II, Hitler. You think Putin is new? Do you think Biden is new? Never heard of Jimmy Carter? Never heard of global cooling? Never heard of a double-digit inflation? Never heard of gas lines in Canada and the United States? Do your research. Greatest time to ever be alive is now. Manufactured problems are part of the equation. Soviet Union, communism, the wall, you name it. You name it. Nuclear war. My dad, 89 years old, he can tell you it all. He says, son, I've gone full circle. I've seen it all. Global warming, global cooling. I've seen Biden. I've seen Biden gave us, or Carter gave us Reagan. He said, Biden will give you probably DeSantis or somebody else. It's all one big circle, but it's not new. Don't say it's new. But these men and women, past, present, and future, and God bless their families, fighting for our freedoms and our independence and the autonomy that we can claim and the personal sovereignty that we can claim. It's just incredible how few people, Canadians and Americans, actually claim their freedom. Good morning. Their autonomy or their personal sovereignty. It's fucking shameful. And that's what I tell my kids. That's what I tell my champions. I remind my champions. I teach my world builders. It's okay to be down, but in this world, it's not okay to stay down. It's okay to struggle. It's okay to lose. It's okay to fail. That's part of the entire process. But it's not okay to not do well in this world. I watch guys piss it all away every day, whether it's alcohol, whether they're cell phone junkie addiction, they've lost their disconnect with their wife, roommate with a ring, their children are disconnected and lost, just like they are. Guys physically unfit, 40 pounds overweight, eating the wrong foods, drinking alcohol, taking medications, and then you have the entire manufactured mental health storyline that goes on. Our children's suicide rate up 71% since the China virus. That's age 12 to 21, age 12 to 18. Literally children age 12 to 18 killing themselves, 71%, not thinking about it, killing themselves. Cell phone addiction, screening from birth, rampant depression, anxiety, stress, worry, addiction, all connected to one thing. All connected to one thing. That smartphone that Steve Jobs stood up on the stage and said was going to change the world. It did change the world. It changed the world for 0.01%, including himself. And for the 1% of 1% of 1%, guys like me that know how to use that thing as a servant. The problem is it's been designed to make everybody, almost every single person, a slave to it. And now you're starting to see the delayed consequences, the suicides, the manufactured mental illness. Big Pharma is loving all of it, right? 4-year-olds, 5-year-old children being medicated and sedated. When do you think that train stops? That train stops when they're on their deathbed. They'll be medicated for 50, 60, 70, 80 years. Okay, by Big Pharma. They're in business with big tech. But you know this. And if you don't do anything about it, if you don't protect your queen, your wife, your children, your grandchildren, your employees, if you don't stand up and use those brass balls that the good Lord gave you, you have nobody to blame but yourself. Men, like I just talked about, have given us the most incredible environment to do business, to raise our families, to be dedicated and honorable husbands, to serve other people, to make a difference, to live a life of significance. And if you're not taking advantage of that every day, it's not okay. It's not okay. You have at least 1 or 2 God-given talents, every person does. The homeless bum on the street begging for money has a gift. Doesn't use it, but he has a gift. I've never met a single person in my life, no matter how successful or unsuccessful they were. I've never met a single man or woman, child, teenager that didn't have a special gift. I have, I believe, 2 or 3 special gifts, which means I have 2 or 3 things that I can do, that I have passion and obsession for, that I've highly tuned these gifts of mine: marketing, copywriting and teaching. I'm a teacher at heart. That's my passion. I love to teach. And what's the number one subject I love? Marketing and world building. So that's what I teach. So I have an obsession and I have a passion for it. And I love doing it. But that's where the guru advice stops now. Well, you shouldn't do it unless you love it. You shouldn't do it unless it's your passion. Well, that's only part of the truth. The truth is then you have to develop the skill. So you have a passion for playing the piano. Well, you need to find a way to play the piano at an elite level and then turn it into a business that brings you money. If you have a passion for the game of chess or writing songs or playing the guitar, then you have to learn you have got to develop the skills to teach, to have online and offline classes, to write books, all of those different things so that you can turn it into a business that provides you with income and serves other people. It's not hard. It's not difficult. There's nothing. Basket weaving, candlestick making, they all can be turned into businesses where you can be paid to live your passion. But passion isn't enough. Obsession isn't enough. You have to finely tune skills. I learned over the last 20 years how to write copy. I learned over the last 20 years how to shoot videos. I learned over the last 20 years how to design ads and direct response advertisements and radio ads and newsletters. I'm self-taught. I studied thousands of books. I studied hundreds of newsletters. I became a serious student for the last 20 decades. So, Michael, you make it look easy. Sure do. 20,000 hours. 10,000 hours. Are you fucking drunk? 20,000 hours. 20,000 hours. So I can market any business. I can step into any industry now and be the most talked about, most respected, most referred, and most controversial instantly. I don't know anything about barbering. I didn't know anything about insurance. I didn't know very little about anything that I've stepped into. And all of a sudden, I can anoint myself and leapfrog everybody at the bottom because, good morning, of a highly, highly, highly crafted skill. It's my art. It's my art. It's my craft, and I work on it every day. But I'm able to work on it every day. I'm able to live my passions and my obsessions and what I enjoy doing. I get to live and do my life's work now because of men like I just told you about. Men that serve us through the military, men that have fought in wars, World War, sacrificed time with their children, sacrificed their marriages, sacrificed their mental health. And then some gave all. Some gave all. They came back, they came home in a coffin. And I just think that we've lost that connection with freedom isn't free. Freedom isn't free. Freedom isn't free. And I think it's such an insult and such a disservice when every day, if you don't get up and claim your personal sovereignty, I think it's an absolute slap in the face to every male or female soldier, police officer, firefighter, first responder, anybody and everybody that pays for your freedom every day. Not politicians, not bureaucrats, none of that stuff. I'm talking about the people that sacrificed so that you have a choice to claim your personal sovereignty. And it's slipping away from us, you know that. It's slipping away from us, and we're gradually losing our autonomy and our control and our independence. And if we don't have men and women like you step up and be the example of claiming your autonomy every day, claiming your personal sovereignty, it'll be gone in the next decade. Do you give it 10 years? America is still land of the free. The American and Canadian dream is still alive. It still can be done. You're an example, I'm an example. It's harder and harder every day. You have to stay more focused. You have to take Uncle Earl Nightingale's advice every single morning when you open your eyes. You need to look around at what everybody else is doing, and you need to do the exact opposite every day. That can't be a platitude. That can't be some of the time. It needs to be all the time. If you're following the herd or the crowd, you're done. You're done. Because the herd or the crowd have moved towards dependence, convenience. They've bought in. They've gone all in on drive-throughs, on cell phone addiction. They've gone all in on having their food delivered to their house, never getting their ass off the couch, binging TV, following what's happening in the news, politics, anti-social media. They're all in. They've bought in on being taken care of. They've turned their back on independence and autonomy. They've turned their back on personal sovereignty. And they are now in a position where we're, I think, three decades in, 10, 10, and 10. I call those decades of children. We're into the third decade of children that have been raised by parents soft as shit. I see it in my hockey programs, my power skating programs. I see it in my coaching and consulting. My generation was the first generation to let our children down. So I'm 53 years old. Most of my friends were raising kids in their late 20s. So that was the first 10 years of failure, then the next 10 years of failure, and then the next 10 years of failure. And now you're seeing it, right? But the decades of soft as shit. Can't tie their own fucking shoes. Can't think. Can't deal with adversity. No stick-to-itness. No grit. No toughness. No ambition. Whose fault was that? It's my generation's fault. It started 30 years ago. So we need to kick it in gear here and be the example. You need to be the example. Forget talking about it, forget posting about it on Facebook, and start living it so that your children and your grandchildren see it every day. Claiming your personal sovereignty is the ultimate example. It's the most contagious thing a person can do. My daughter, even at age 10 now, is starting to watch what I do. She'll listen, right? She's 10 years old. She would listen all through. She's 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old. She thinks I can fucking fly. But those days are coming to an end. And now she's starting to know that I can't fly. I'm not Superman anymore. And she's starting to watch what I do. And this will take her through her adolescent years into adulthood. What does daddy do in terms of fitness? What does daddy do in terms of his cell phone? What's daddy's work ethic look like? What's daddy's language sound like? How does daddy dress? How does daddy prepare? Is daddy punctual? Does daddy care? You know, does he claim his autonomy, his personal sovereignty? What does daddy tolerate? What are daddy's standards? What are his goals? Is he a man on a mission? Is he claiming his freedoms, his independence? You know, when I came here, I think of this guy when I was thinking about this young man that gave his life for my freedom and for my personal sovereignty. In Dunkin Donuts, I think about my mindset coming to Naples. When we came here last year, we'd never stepped foot in Naples. That's called brass balls. We powered up a private jet. Our dog jumped on, my kid jumped on, and we left. We left trial communism behind in Canada. Masking, vaccinations, lockdowns, restrictions, fitness clubs closed, schools closed. Wow, we left that in the rearview mirror and we got out of there. I wanted nothing more to do with it. But it's interesting, I never took the opportunity of coming to America or coming to Naples especially for granted. I never took it for granted. I just never took it for granted. We've been here for a year, our second year, this is our second winter. But when I was thinking about this young man that lost his life serving our country, serving America, I thought about it's my moral duty to come here to Naples and bust my fucking ass and win. It is my moral duty as a husband, as a father, as an entrepreneur, as a consultant, as a community leader to come here and get up every day and bust my ass to claim my freedoms, my sovereignty, whatever you want to call it. I didn't come here. I've been financially in a safe harbor position now for almost a decade. I could have literally come here and sat on the beach. Every winter I could sit on the beach and read. I don't want any of that shit. That's a false god to worship. A life of no work is a false god to worship. But I will say I came here to serve other men. My mission is to serve 100 men, to change the Western world by creating better entrepreneurs, better husbands, better fathers, better grandfathers, more badass world builders, to help men build their own world. That's my goal. That's my job over the next 10 years. But I had no intention of sitting on a beach with a margarita in my hand reading a book. No. No work is a false god to worship. My dad worked to 85 and now he's still working, just different things he's doing. Purpose. Work. Happiness. Gratitude. Contribution. And then it all equals legacy and significance. Legacy and significance. So what the hell are you doing? Are you slapping these men and women that have sacrificed their entire lives, in some cases, when you get up and say, I can't walk? Why don't you just say the truth and say, I won't walk? When you say, I can't write every day, why don't you just be honest with yourself at least? Look in the mirror and say, I won't copyright. I won't market my business. Instead of lying to yourself, lying to your family, lying to the men and women in uniform who have given you freedom to do anything you want. Well, I can't get to the gym. I can't lose this 25 pounds. What an absolute insult. What an insult to our men and women in uniform. What an insult to the families who lost their loved ones protecting our freedom. See, anybody who thinks like that is an entitled fucker who only thinks, never thinks about it. Freedom is free. You're a taker, not a giver. You're a taker, not a giver. You come to this great country and you're a taker. When I came here last year, I was determined that we were going to be givers. My wife is non-stop charity. That's what Krista does. She serves on boards. She serves on the school board. She volunteers here in Florida. She volunteers at home in Canada. She serves on multiple charitable nonprofit boards. She's the arm now of our philanthropy. She's in charge of giving back, and she does it with her time. I do it with my time and money. She does it with her time. So we're here to give. I'm here. We don't know how long we're going to be in Naples. We own a home here. We love it here. We're so grateful that we're welcome here. But as long as the McLeans are here, we're going to give everything we can to serve other people, to help other Americans, to help other men, to help other women. And I'm going to do it any way I can. Any way I can. Same at home. But it's not okay. It's absolutely not okay not to do well. If you're struggling in any area of your life right now, it's not okay for that to continue. Whether it's marketing, whether it's money, whether it's employees, whether it's fitness, whether it's mental health, whether it's addiction to alcohol, gambling, pornography. Maybe you're just a punch-drunk tomato can who's addicted to your cell phone. Maybe you're scrolling your life away. Maybe you're scrolling your life away. 10 hours, 15 hours a day scrolling your life away. Maybe you're addicted to your sadness. Maybe you're addicted to what I say, losing. Losers aren't winners, and winners aren't losers. So maybe you're addicted to your despair. Maybe you're addicted to your manufactured mental illness. I don't know. But I'll tell you this, it's not okay. It's not okay. When I was sitting on the end of the dock drinking and escaping from my wife and from my daughter, and then sleeping the next day till 10 o'clock and getting up with a headache, and I felt like somebody had played a football game physically, and then I would be checked out for the next 24 hours, sick, maybe 48 hours. So I wouldn't be there for my wife, I wouldn't be there for my daughter, but I was able to relax. I deserved to relax after work on a Friday. So it wasn't okay. I had a self-intervention. I didn't need an intervention. I needed a personal intervention. When I put on 23 pounds in 90 days, back in the day working for my dad, 23 pounds of fat. If it jiggles, it's fat. I put on 23 pounds of fat in 90 days sitting behind a desk, and I lost 23 pounds in the next 60. I had a personal intervention. I sat myself down and said, this is not okay. I'm blessed with opportunities beyond any other man, so it's not okay not to do well. Same thing for drinking. I sat myself down. I had a personal intervention. I didn't need anybody to kick my ass. I kicked my own ass. I said, alcohol is making me sick. God is tapping me on the shoulder and saying, enough, Michael, enough. This does no longer serve you. This is drinking is a young man's game. It's making you ill. It's making you detached. It's making you less than you are. Time to stop. Time to practice stopping. Never had a drink of alcohol since. Same thing when I wasn't getting my marketing done and my business was struggling years ago. I had a personal intervention. I sat down and said, that's it. I said, I'm going to build myself a success environment. Here's my desk. Here's my laptop. Here's the one piece of paper I'm going to work on each day, and I'm going to market for 60 minutes. I don't care what I do, no matter what. I'm going to set the timer, and I'm going to write for 1 hour every day, 7 days a week. I had a personal intervention, and every day, 7 days a week for the last, I guess it would be 19 years, I have written and worked on Operation Money Suck. I haven't missed 5 days in the last, I'm not saying maybe 20 years. Can't remember. A couple of surgeries, that's it. So I'm no longer willing to tolerate losing in my life. I make lots of mistakes. I fail. Lots of losses, but it's not okay. It's not okay not to do well. People say, oh, Michael, you've built the world of your dreams. Well, it's not okay not to build the world of your dreams. All the blessings I've had in my life, I won the parent lottery. I live in the 2 greatest countries in the world. I've been in incredible businesses. I've had incredible mentors. I have a woman who loves me and respects me. I've been blessed with a beautiful child. It's not okay. It's not okay not to do well. It's okay to be down. I've been down lots of times. I've been down, but it's not okay to stay down. In fact, it's an insult to the men and women who have actually created and continue to keep this show on the rails. So give that some thought when you get up tomorrow and you don't want to do something because it's hard. It's hard, is it? It's hard? Is that the bullshit you tell yourself every day? It's hard? Well, it's supposed to be hard and it's supposed to be difficult, but whatever your hard is, I guarantee it isn't going to be as hard as that 7-year-old boy being raised without a father. That is hard. That's hard. Being raised without a father, forgetting your father because he served his country, that's hard. That's difficult. Being 7 years old, 10 years old, 15 years old, playing football, going to school, and your dad will never ever be there again, that's hard. Knowing your dad was a hero, but not remembering him, barely remembering him, that's hard. A single mother raising a child, that's hard. That's a hero right there. That's what takes balls and courage. What you're doing is not hard. You just haven't made up your mind to do it. You're taking all this for granted and you think it'll last forever. See that beautiful sunrise behind me? That means my Creator's not done with me today. I get another day. I get one more day. I get one more day to claim my freedom, to claim my autonomy, to claim my personal sovereignty, to build the world of my dreams. And I've got to make decisions that move me closer to that and stay away from decisions that move me further away from that. And that takes balls, that takes brass balls. And that's what it's all about, is respecting the people that have allowed us to have that, to be out here and shoot a video and have thousands of people see it. That's the greatest time in history to be alive. For me to be able to influence people all over the world, couldn't do it 15 years ago. Probably couldn't do it 10 years ago. I'm shooting a video on a broken iPhone. Couldn't do it. Your potential is unlimited. Your options are unlimited. Your life is unlimited if you have the brass balls to claim it. So that experience has woken me up. That experience has changed me a little bit, and it's made me appreciate even more how incredible it is to be in these two countries and to be alive in 2023. Life is a gift, yes, life is a gift, and an attitude of gratitude is the secret. So that's it. That's the story from Dunkin Donuts of a young boy who lost his father because his father was a hero. He signed up to be a hero, and he sacrificed and lost his life because he was a hero. So I'm going to be covering all my rules. It's not all my rules, some of my rules in my April newsletter. If you're not a subscriber to my Michael McLean newsletter, you need to sign up. Badassletter.com. In the April edition, I'm doing one of the most popular features that I do ever. I did it in my book, and I did it in some of my videos, and I've done it in a couple of newsletters. My Badass Millionaire Rules. And these are rituals, they're habits, they're maxims, they're standards that I use in my personal life and in my business life over the last 31 years as an entrepreneur, over the last 19 years as a professional and amateur hockey coach, and now husband and father. They're the Badass Millionaire Rules I've used to write 155 million in products and services. And this edition of the April newsletter is going to be called the Badass Rules Edition. And I'm going to take 5 or 10 of my top rules, and I'm going to write about them in this newsletter. And most of them are brand new. Some of them might be, a little bit more about what you've read in my book. My book, How to Not Get Your Ass Kicked in Business, nobullbook.com, is my 25 rules for living life and doing business on your own terms. So this newsletter is going to be an extension of those 25. I'm going to share with you 5, 6, 7 more rules for living life and doing business on your own terms. Most of them will be marketing rules. Most of them will be sales rules, advertising rules, a copywriting rule, and also some mental toughness rules and world building. They're all world building rules, right? At the end of the day. So these rules will all be wealth, health, and relationships, but most of them marketing and advertising. So that's what the April edition is going to be. I hardly ever do this. I haven't done it in a long time. My Michael McLean Badass Millionaire Rules edition this April. If you want to sign up, you get one of these t-shirts thrown in for free. These are about $60, by the way. And I walk in these and train in these. When you sign up, you get a free t-shirt. You get a paper, physical newsletter. It'll be shipped to your home or office in April. You get to, it's my rules edition. And there's some nice bonuses in there as well. You get to be part of the locker room, our anti-social media locker room. I have nothing to do with Google. I have nothing to do with Facebook. We have an online forum that's designed by the great Sam Ovens called School with a K. And we use that as our online. So you get to meet your brothers, you get to post questions, you get to help each other inside this forum that is it's anti-social media. It's private, because I don't do that either. And you get the newsletter's about 22 pages. So it's gonna be a jumbo edition in April. And it's gonna be my infamous Badass Millionaire Rules edition. Sign up at badassletter.com. Badassletter.com. Get your free t-shirt. I'll keep this open for 5 days. And then I'll close it. As soon as I have to send the list and the newsletter copy to the printer, that's when I close immigration off. So it's a hard line. It's not something you make up. When you send it to the printer and you send your list of subscribers to the printer, then that's the hard deadline. So I think that stuff needs to be sent in 5 or 6 days. So that'll be the deadline. So sign up today. Badassletter.com. Badassletter.com. I'll ship you the April newsletter. I'll ship you, Leanne, I'll ship you the nice t-shirt plus the other free gifts that are part of it. And you can cancel at any time. It's $97 per month. And the diamond level, where you get the 4 telegrams, every week I send you a physical telegram like the old days, like my grandfather used to do. I send those, that's diamond level, that's $197 a month, that's next level. But either way, if you want the rules edition, go to badassletter.com. If you hate online shopping like I do, I've never been on Amazon, never been on the site. Never bought anything online. My wife does all that stuff. Leanne does that, Marc-Andre. Just email Leanne and she'll hook you up. Leanne, her email's below. Leanne at badassmillionaire.com. Leanne at badassmillionaire.com. So there's 2 ways to subscribe to my April Badass Millionaire Rules newsletter. Man, I love writing about rules. I hate rules. I'm not a rule follower. I'm a contrarian. And my guys, my top students, they hate rules. But these are like the handful of rules that make the difference, right? And if you follow these rules, you're free. That's the thing, right? Like, these are rules for entrepreneurs who hate rules. Mavericks, renegades, a badass hates rules, right? I hate rules. You hate rules. But these are actual rules, like in my book, that lead to less rules, if that makes sense. Rules that lead to less rules. If you do these handful of things, you're free, you've got autonomy, and you've got personal sovereignty. These are rules to help you build the world of your dreams. That's what it's about. These are world building rules. But they're not for the, they're not for the sheeple. They're not for the tomato cans. Yes, sir, 3 bags full. None of that. These are rules for champions, for lions, for builders, for ballers, for badass kings. Badassletter.com. 2 words that changed my life, 2 words that can change your life. Be relentless.